At the end of the previous video, we were talking about the need to put another statement in here to handle traffic that does not match ACL block 123. What you're almost always going to end a VLAN ACL with is the equivalent of an ACL permit any. And what that is just doing action forward with no match clause. So let's go ahead and go back into that VLAN. And I'm not going to use sequence numbers because I just want to check and make sure that the theory is correct, and this would be assigned sequence number 20. So the thing is, with this clause, I am not going to put a match value in. I'm just going to put an action in. And again, those choices, pretty cut and dried there, and there it is. So let's go back out and we will take a look at our access map one more time. And you'll notice that even though I didn't give it a sequence number, it was assigned 20. So again, that's going to start with 10 and it's going to increment by 10 from there. And nothing wrong with this. Actually, again, it's a common final clause in a VLAN ACL because you're usually dropping some specific traffic and then you want to permit everything else. And that's exactly what this does. There's no match clause in action forward. When there is no match, then the action will be taken. So any traffic that doesn't match the first clause, clause number 10, is going to be forwarded. So we're in good shape there. Now we've got our ACL written, we've got our VLAN's access map written. Now we have to apply it. And here's where things just get a whole lot different from an ACL, because you've been applying ACLs to physical interfaces. You know how to do that with IP access, what? Right, group. And then you've got your VTY lines. You could put it on there with access class. And of course, then you're always going to have to specify the direction. Well, we're not specifying a direction when we apply this VLAN ACL. What we are doing is using the VLAN filter command. And this is where you're going to call the VLAN. And notice that I'm not in any kind of VLAN configuration mode here. I'm actually in global config mode. So we've got VLAN filter there ready to go. And now I need to put my VLAN map name, which was block 123. Then I need to type in the VLANs to apply the filter to, which in this case was 10. And now I get unrecognized command. Why did that happen? Because it's really easy to read that and say, oh, okay, I just need to type in the numeric VLANs. Well, you actually have to type in VLAN list. Then you get prompted to either put this filter on one specific VLAN or add it to all of them. So you have that option as well. And I'm going to go with 10 here and then comma hyphen. So if I wanted to add some to that list, I could certainly do it. I'm not going to. And there we are. So we've done everything we can do as far as the VLAN filter command. And let's just do, as I call it, a quick ocular scan here. Show IP access list. There's our IP access list that we wrote earlier, block 123. Show VLAN access map. And everything looks good, but of course it's all in the testing. And that's what we're going to go out and do now, where I will try from host 1 to ping 10.1.1.2. And they are definitely not going through. Even though they're in the same subnet, they actually are next door neighbors because we have them connected to ports right next to each other. Those pings are not going to go through. And so 1 can't ping 2 or 3. We're not going to send pings from everybody here, but you get the gist of the idea. It's definitely working. As a matter of fact, being the completest I am, I'm going to have to do that. Now, there should be a way to test another part of the requirement, though, because we were asked, something about newly arrived hosts. Remember what that was? Because our testing at this point, we're not quite done. It said something about future hosts. And if we put more hosts on here from 10.1.1.0/24, they should be able to talk to each other, but hosts 1, 2, and 3 still shouldn't be able to ping them. So I'm going to set up a couple of new hosts, and we'll pick up right with that. Actually, I'm just going to pause the video and then come right back with those new hosts. And let me show you the network we have now. Not exactly a complicated addition. We've got hosts 4 and 5 online. I haven't sent any pings yet to test the VACL because I want you to see that, but I also want you to see a couple things that went on. And all I did during the break was just add, hosts 4 and 5, no big deal, but you do a show CDP neighbor, of course. I just wanted to make sure that these two hosts I was looking at were connected to the ports I thought they were. And up here in the middle of all of this, I had put hosts 4 and 5 in VLAN 10, or so I thought. But it looks like I messed up one of the commands somewhere, because when I ran show VLAN brief, as you always should, notice that port 5 was still in VLAN 1. So I mistyped something somewhere, and of course if I continue with the lab without verifying my connections and without verifying my VLANs, obviously it wouldn't have worked, and I'd be sitting there going, wonder why that didn't work. So again, it never hurts, and it's always a good idea to check those physical connections and check your VLAN memberships as well before you run a lab. So now that we've got all that down, let's go ahead and clear our screen here a little bit, and we'll go out to 4 and see if we can ping over to 10.1.1.5. And we lost our first packet there, as you'd expect. Then everything goes through, so no problems there. Let's go over to 5 and see if we can ping 4. And no problems there, so the VACL is not causing any issues there. Now let's go out to 1 and see if 1 can ping the newcomers. And it can't. And why can't it? Because of course the VACL is matching and just saying, hey, wait a minute, this traffic is sourced from either 10.1.1.1, 2, or 3, and at the same time it's going to any address on 10.1.1.0/24. That's the ACL we wrote, and that's why it is still being blocked. Now if you wanted 4 and 5 to start pinging 1, 2, or 3, or communicating with them, you'd have to change your ACL a bit to let some packets through, because while 4 and 5 could send a ping out to 1, 2, or 3, 1, 2, or 3 could not return it. So, because again, it would match the ping reply, the ICMP reply would match that ACL. So you'd have to go in and start editing your list a little bit. But that is it for VLAN ACL. Some solid theory there, and we got to see it all live here in action. And we're going to take a breather from VLANs a little bit and look at another security feature for switches coming right up.